Hey, what's up, guys? Another great conversation here today with my close friend, AJ Vaynerchuk, the co founder of VaynerMedia and VaynerSports. We spend most of the conversation kind of catching up, as most friends do, but we also do dive into not only what we're seeing within the Web3 ecosystem currently and what AJ is buying, and also how he approaches the markets and some lessons from not only this cycle, but previous cycles. But we do dive quite deep into the world of sports and how the similarities for how that industry is playing out also can be seen in our industry. Um, I will say that when we dive into the sports side of things, VaynerSports has become quite the leader in the sports agency side of things. I know on more athletes and also more verticals of sports that they represent within. It's also very cool to get AJ's outlook on NIL and how athletes are approaching the different opportunities they have. Not only under NIL, but also within the Web3 and other business opportunities that present themselves. Um, as always, thank you to our sponsors for making this possible. And thank you to watching these. Again, it means the world to me to know that we have people watching these. But sit back, enjoy the show, and enjoy AJ Vaynerchuk. The man, the myth, the legend, AJ. Have the pleasure of calling you a friend. Leading VaynerSports right now, a crypto veteran, a beloved person, I think, from everybody who knows you. Uh, so happy to chat. We got a
Yeah.
lot to get into today. For those who don't know, you obviously are very large in the sports world, and you're also very active within the Web3 world. I think there's a lot of ways to tie that together, link that into what you're seeing happen in both. But yeah, I think the best way to start is just really like what you're up to right now and who you are.
Yeah, no, Hunter, thanks for having me, brother. Um, I'll do like a 2-minute background just for those that don't know. Um, so the thing that most people would know is based off the last name. I'm Gary's brother. He and I are brothers, best friends, business partners. Started our first business together actually a month before I graduated. We started VaynerMedia, and the idea was that Gary told me around when we landed on the idea shortly after South by Southwest Interactive. Economy was terrible. This is like 2008, 2009. We went the safe route instead of like a VC backed startup and decided to start a service business. And we made that decision shortly after South by. And Gary's like, all right, I'll use April and May to like start pitching, my relationships in the world of business. And hopefully when you graduate in late May, we'll be ready to roll. Well, my brother's a great salesman, has a great network. And so we actually got our first piece of business with Procter and Gamble in April of 2009. And VaynerMedia was a social media agency at first. It's since grown to be a full service global agency with over 2,000 employees. But at that point, it was just Gary and I. And Procter and Gamble hired us for one of their brands having an event, and they wanted us to capture content and create a Facebook event and post to that Facebook event and create a splash page for event registry and hire a freelance photographer to capture photos and share content on their Facebook wall. That's what was happening in 2009. And so, yeah, we started VaynerMedia together. Um, but even prior to that, we were involving ourselves in the tech sector. And that's kind of where, as it relates to crypto, that's really where it began. And South by Southwest, ironically, is exactly
Right.
where crypto began for my brother and I. So the quick story on that is we were early users of social media. Gary started his YouTube show, Wine Library TV, I think in 2007. We hopped on Twitter in '07. I was on Facebook. I got lucky with Facebook. I went to Boston University. And so when I went to Boston University in 2005, I was part of that small group of schools after Harvard, Northeastern, Babson,
Right.
Bentley. So a little bit of luck. I had Facebook before Gary. The only way Gary could use Facebook is if I was logged in and he was with me, because regular people that
Would
weren't,
he make you do that?
not make me, but like I would come home from college and we'd be like on Facebook. And I mean, the stuff we used to like, I was buying Facebook groups back in the day. So like in 2006, I was buying Facebook groups, like random shit, and with 600,000 fans. That's what they were called back then in the
Right.
groups. And I would literally buy these groups from other college kids, and then I would immediately run affiliate ads against them. So like if I bought, for example, some Facebook fan page that maybe skewed more like male college student, I would then pepper the timeline with affiliate links to merchandise for like South Park paraphernalia and like cult movies like Super Troopers, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. And so I would buy like a Facebook group for, I don't know, like $2,000. And then within 2 days, I made $3,000 in affiliate sales. And now I have the asset.
Yep.
And I was just compiling, like I was literally building like a fan network. And then one day Facebook shut the faucet off and that business died. But anyway, I'll fast forward. I'm going very slow. But to get to crypto, one of the most formidable things that have ever crossed my path and Gary's path was South by Southwest Interactive. We were very early goers to that conference. And Gary hosted something back at our hotel room called the Jam Session, where he would just collect founders and VCs and we would talk about the future. And it'd be after the day was done. It would start at like 11 or midnight. Gary would grab some wine and we would just jam and riff. And the room had some legends come through. And the first time I ever heard about Bitcoin, I want to say it was 2012. And it was during one of those jam sessions. And the people that were talking about it were Aaron Battalion, who at the time was the CTO of Living Social, which was a Groupon competitor, had a successful exit, I think to Amazon. I could be wrong. And now he's a VC. I haven't caught up with Aaron in a long time. Last I remembered, he was at Lightspeed. I don't know if he's still there. I don't know. Whatever he's doing, I know it's great because he's a genius. And then Ashton Kutcher was in that room talking about Bitcoin. And a slew of others, Matt Mazzio, and Chris Sacca, like Travis Kalanick. Like it was a room
all the right people were in the room.
It was a lot of the right people. And I'll be honest, I'm 20 years, I guess in 2012, I'm 25. We're running VaynerMedia. VaynerMedia is going well, but and I interned in Silicon Valley, like in San Francisco between my junior and senior year. I minored in computer science. So I could follow, but I remember I left the room saying to myself, man, I don't really understand what they're talking about. But I can understand that people that smart are talking about something with that type of passion. I should make a bet. And so I first bought Bitcoin literally the next morning after that time. So I was lucky enough to buy Bitcoin in 2012. I wish I bought a lot more, but I bought some. And it was a bet.
I think you're among a large group of people who also wish they
Yes.
bought.
Yes. At least I'm not one of the people that like bought a pizza for what is now like $19 million. There's that story
brutal.
amongst others. Yeah.
That is
So
brutal.
I feel good about that. At least I don't have that type of story. I wasn't that early, I guess, thankfully.
Fair. So you found out about Bitcoin, and then obviously since then it's been, there's been a whirlwind of developments for VaynerMedia.
Yeah, it was a winding road, and my journey with crypto is a winding road. So yeah, built VaynerMedia out. I did that in my 20s. I left after 7 years to chase something I was more passionate about. So Gary's continued on building that business and more than almost tripled it since I left 8 years ago. I think we were about 700 people when I left. It's roughly a little over 2,000 now. So he's about tripled the business since I've left. We were also doing a lot of angel investing in this time. So me buying Bitcoin as like a speculative investment wasn't new behavior. Fortunate enough to be an investor in Uber Series B in 2010. Gary and I did the seed round of Venmo. So we were playing in that space as angels, and then we eventually became GPs in a fund, and we deployed capital along the way. First it was Web2 based and consumer based. So anything consumer. We were doing mostly consumer tech, but like even like a one-off investment for us is we invested in a company called Bonza, which is a chickpea pasta alternative, a CPG brand, because we were doing a lot of that work in VaynerMedia and we understood where consumer behavior was going on the health and wellness front. So yeah, the first couple of funds were that, and then we actually had a Web3 fund. So like we were investors in Artifact, we did Yuga, IMX. Like we've done some things in the Web3 space. That fund has since wrapped up its investment period. But yeah, like crypto was kind of 2012, bought some Bitcoin, had no idea what anybody was talking about. 2014, in the same exact situation, South by Southwest Interactive, Aaron Battalion says, I'm really interested by this Ethereum thing. So started buying Ethereum in 2014. I was like, he was right about Bitcoin. And so that was good. Shout out Aaron Battalion. Then probably pretty quiet with crypto. Never got caught up in the ICO craze, thankfully. But really where we got really, really involved is when we're consumer guys. I'm a consumer guy. And so when NFTs first hit the radar, my first ever NFT was a CryptoPunk, which was a good start. And then I degened and divulged from there. And yeah, when I left VaynerMedia, I started up the sports agency. So today, where I spend most of my time is running VaynerSports. represent athletes across American football, baseball, mixed martial arts, gaming, um, basketball, if I didn't say that. About 125 athletes across the gamut. We do everything but finance. So we do their league or team contract. We do their marketing, philanthropy, brand building, content. We just don't do taxes or financial advising or anything like that. I was able to blend my two careers and my two passions when I launched VaynerSports Pass during the Web3 craze. For anybody listening, I'm probably most well known for in the Web3 world for having one of the worst gas wars ever and being at the head of that project. And that was one of the most substantial career moments, just going through that adversity. You know, when you said like beloved, I kind of winced because I was like, yeah, like you added the caveat to those that know me. Fine, good, I appreciate that. But man, it's a funny experience being enemy number one for thankfully crypto Twitter and the universe has a short attention span and there's just a lot of fucking shit going on.
Yeah.
But I was enemy number one for about 24 hours.
I I
Um,
I remember that happening, just being like, there's nothing
no,
anybody
no,
can do to like help this
no,
man right now
no,
except
no.
pray that he. I mean, what I think you
You just gotta
did
take it on the
some.
chin.
Yeah.
You just gotta take it on the chin. The gas war was I want to say, don't get me, nobody killed me for getting the number wrong. I apologize. I have 3 kids and sleep little. That's my excuse. But it was, I want to say it was like the two numbers, it was either 23 or 26 million, maybe 20. It was, I know it was in the 20s, but when you did the math, it was something like 26 million was burned on gas. So it's not like that went to me. It would have been easier to take those lumps on the chin if that 26 million went into my pocket.
Right.
But that just got burned, and it was due to a poor structure in our contract and launch. I launched it at the absolute peak, I would say, of speculation and hysteria. Obviously, my brother and his influence, he put out one tweet, and that was enough. We sold out in less than 15 minutes, and it built a really big gas war. And it was a very humbling experience to, at the end of the day, I'm the leader of that project, and it falls on my back. But not being the one that did, and I take pride in being able to speak to and understand some aspects of the tech, having been a computer science minor and things of that nature. But, I missed the mark. I didn't do a good enough job mapping out the roadmap for how that should launch. And I laugh now. I didn't laugh then. And I still don't laugh. Laugh's the wrong word. But to add some light and humor to a tough situation, I sometimes joke that what was it? I basically, what it was the thing, like I walked so people could run, like, because you had right after VaynerSports Pass, there was two major launches that were coming. It was VFriend Series 2, my brother's project,
Yep.
and then the Moonbirds drop, which
Yep.
Kevin Rose did. And I'm not taking any credit because I didn't do anything good, but my failure helped inform those two teams to do a much better job with their drop in a world where they were trending my way, and they got to see the carnage and made great adjustments so that both those launches went a lot smoother. And I know my lumps helped those two launches at least go smoother, which were bigger launches and even more money at stake.
I think that gets lost in this space because of again, short attention span and how
Yep.
I think like personal people take things, but a
Mm-hmm.
lot of these missteps that you see happen day to day are just the growing pains of the industry. And it's not, a mature industry like everybody thinks it is. Even though it's been
Sure.
around forever, the consumer side of it has not. To
Yeah.
where you have,
100%.
millions of dollars pouring in to
Listen,
buy.
there's still, like you said, and that was almost 3 years ago. We still, like, you have veterans, like, I don't know if you saw what happened with Wizard of Soho, but he had this terrible thing happen to him with the Punk. And
Yeah.
that's a dude that is like a full blown DJ that's been daily and active for years and years, knows his way around contracts, knows his way around this whole space, and loses what was, I think, roughly like $150,000 asset in a Punk. And like you said, it's personal for people, and I get it, man. Like, people. I didn't force anybody to speculatively buy VaynerSports Pass, but I get how not good it feels to get crushed on a gas war, and it's something I try to explain to people. And I think people, what's funny is I spent 24 hours being public enemy number one, and I think if there's anything I can be proud of, uh, which not a lot to hang on to when you burn $20+ million in gas, it's that I just stood out in public and took it on the chin. I replied to every single tweet. Literally, like, you can go on Twitter search and check it out. Like, hundreds and hundreds, if not 1,000+ messages that I just took ownership. I took it on the chin. I got on phone calls with people. I did live streams. Like, I just ate it. because I just told the truth and I can't change what happened. Um, and it was an experience, but I get, and what I try to tell people, and they don't want to hear it, and I understand, is like I have also lost a lot of money on gas and have been in gas wars and have bought projects with crazy gas wars. And, it's not like I think something that I think is underrated about, and I'll throw my brother in this too. Like we're active participants and consumers. Like we had a fund and we invested in these companies. We
Yep.
started our own projects. We're collectors. I lost I lost tons of money on tons of projects, and you can look at. I made a lot of money on a lot of projects too, but like,
Right.
and I wish I was a better trader. I'm a much better, I think, early adopter and collector than I am trader because I held a lot of things that went very high and I held on to them as they went very
Because
low.
they went very low.
Yeah, and I'm trying to be better, even like during, that's a cool thing about you just said, like the maturity of the industry, but also just the maturity of, human beings, right? Like, Hunter, how old are you?
30, 30.
We're 30. Like, you're just more equipped to handle what's going on today than you were 3 years ago. And so am I. I'm 37, soon to be 38. Like, the worst thing I did as a collector and a consumer in the cycle was I held everything forever.
Yep.
I sold some stuff, but I mean, I'm trying to think of some good ones. Like, I'm not blaming anybody. I'm a creator, but like, I lost a fortune on doodles. I think I was buying doodles at like 40, 50, 60 grand a clip.
Yep.
And I taxed,
I am right there with you on that one.
right.
I mean,
And
yeah, they were what,
yeah,
like 15 ETH and they were like 45K a piece. And you buy 10 of them and then
yeah.
now what are they? They're 15K.
Yeah, which is better than they were 6 months ago,
Yeah,
right?
they were like $2,000 maybe.
Yeah, and listen, I tax harvest, right? Like I took my lumps and I bought doodles for 60 and sold them for 4,000 and took my $56,000 loss against some other gains. And I'm trying to be smarter. I've not been vocal on Twitter because, frankly, just the emotional energy to deal. Like it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't platform for me right now.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, I either get crushed for being quiet. Not that's not fair. I'm not getting crushed for being quiet. Nobody's really crushing me for that. That's not fair. If I came out and tweeted something about unicorn fart dust when I first bought it, I think I get piled on, and I understand. And so I'd rather just buy UFD in silence um, and just be a DGen collector without the soapbox of a Twitter account and things like that.
Does that feel like a departure from what has been a mostly social media driven like career? Like, because I mean, that's
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would also say that I'm far less public and social than my brother. Like, I
yeah.
think Gary's probably created more content in the last 2 months than I have in the last 10 years. I was always a little bit quieter, more behind the scenes. Frankly, crypto, excuse me, NFTs, more specifically, was kind of like I'm not gonna say my coming out party, but if you just go back and look at my activity on Twitter from 2007 to 2020, I'm around, but I'm mostly quiet. But the
Right.
crypto NFT boom and all the things that we were doing in terms of, I was very active in the launch of VFriends. Not so much in what has been VFriends since launch, but pre-launch, I was extremely, extremely involved. And then obviously launching VaynerSports Pass, and then Gary and I had a fund with our guy Phil Toronto, and we were investing in a lot of great startups in this ecosystem. um, Opportunities were aplenty, right? Like when you guys put together the soccer team, like we had that conversation when
Yep.
Mike Dudas and that, like I was on the original group text thread that Links DAO was created on. Like I'm literally in the thread when the idea is like, should we do this? Let's do this. And um, I was like, I've got too much going on, but I'm gonna buy. I'm gonna buy, and I am a proud member and still a holder and country club member of the course out in Europe. Um, so there was just and they were collecting and there was just so much opportunity. So that's when I really got to be active on Twitter. Was really the Web3 stuff, and then I think between Theater Sports Pass and then the downturn, I get it. People lost a lot of money and it gets nasty, and I have empathy for that. And so for me, it's just more so, I'm active on Twitter, but I try not to touch the hot button topics that I think would just create some unnecessary bad energy for me and for the industry.
Makes sense. Well, you have been active on chain, even though
Hmm.
you haven't been active on socials.
Yep.
Um, I'm curious, we don't have to get into what you've been doing, and I'm
Sure.
curious to get your take on the current meta though. Because right, like things have gone from NFT meta, which
Yeah.
is very consumer facing, to one that has been meme coin driven, to then now
Yep.
one that has been mostly, I would say, for the fact like AI agent
Yeah.
driven.
Yep.
Um, have you been buying on the AI side? What do you see? What's your
Yep.
thought there?
Yeah. I mean, AI in general. Let's put crypto to the side. Just AI in general. Again, I know AI has been around for a long time, a
Hmm.
very long time, right? But same with kind of how I got very passionate and neck deep. My this is actually a fun story. I've never told this before. I have like a very clear kind of like signal for when something is going to consume me and my attention and my interest. And it's when I first discover it if I can't sleep that night. And I don't have problems sleeping. I already made reference before. I got 3 little kids. Like I need my sleep. I like sleeping. I love sleeping. But um, you know, when when NFTs and I first got shown CryptoPunks and then hash masks and thank God Chromie Squiggles and a few other things like art blocks early that same night, and that was like a maybe like 8 or 9 p.m. I didn't sleep that night. I was literally just on OpenSea looking at projects. My number one learning resource in the world was the CryptoPunks Discord channel, Larva Labs Discord, the CryptoPunks channel. Some great minds, early minds were in there.
Yep.
Um, and I was just coming in like a noob, like asking really simple questions, and everybody was really nice and welcoming, and just learned a lot. And yeah, I didn't sleep that first night. And then the only other time that's happened since learning about CryptoPunks, in the last 5 years was when ChatGPT first hit public usage, and same thing. It was the evening. I was hanging out with my wife. She went to bed around like 10, and I didn't sleep that night. I was just prompting and exploring and reading, and so in general, I'm very fascinated by AI. I watched Sam's entire live stream yesterday where they unleashed the operator agent.
Yep.
I think a lot about what that can do for consumer. I think about a lot what that can do for like B2B, like back end operate. What does that mean for VaynerMedia as a creative agency? What does that mean for VaynerSports as a sports agency? What does that mean for our restaurant group? Like all those things, right? Um, so I just don't know how anybody. The only way you can't believe in AI is if you don't want to. If you're a traditionalist and you're scared of the robots taking over, is the only logical path I can see for somebody not believing in AI.
Yep.
And it's got to be rooted in fear and lack of not wanting change. Because if you just look at, I think the thing that I'm most excited about when it comes to consumer AI, I want to highlight that because I know AI has been around forever. I'm not like, oh, it just came out with ChatGPT. Consumer AI, the speed at which it's improving is startling. Like that's what I'm betting on the most is the exponential nature, right? It's not like we're not linear. It's not a linear method. It's not every year we're getting 5% better with how AI can what it can do and how it can impact society. It's a fucking runaway train. And I
Yeah.
know there's like existential threats that we should be considering. I'm choosing not. I'm choosing. I don't have the ability to fix that. I'm not smart enough to fix the robots taking over or whatever. But yeah. So anyway, long story short, what I've been doing, I've been really active on Solana. Um, I would say it's ebbed and flowed. What's funny is I wish I did a better job. You know, when it comes to the meta of the meme coin stuff, because the meme coin stuff had a real minute a year ago, right? It had like a real like I remember like one of my favorite ones I bought was I think it was like 99 cents. It was like the Arizona iced tea meme
Oh
coin
yeah,
on
yeah,
Solana.
yeah,
I
yeah,
got I got crushed on that. I put in like $1,000, like an hour. I remember it was like Sunday morning. I'm in Massachusetts visiting my in-laws. It was up to like 8 grand. Like this is fucking awesome. And then like I got back from dinner, it was like 8 cents. I was like,
yeah,
holy shit, this is crazy,
yeah,
right? So I was playing around with that and bought a lot of meme coins that like a little over a year ago. Then that meta kind of calmed down, and then it had a real resurgence these last few months. And I've been active, nothing crazy. I've been using it more to learn and to keep tabs on things. Less, I'm not doing it full time, etc. But I've had some good winners, and it's fun. It's what I like about the current meta is that it has a little bit of that juice, that like the Web3 when new NFT projects would drop and things like that. Like a lot of the same people we talked about when new projects launched on NFT marketplaces are talking about altcoins and things like that and meme coins, and it's just fun. Um, as far and then on the AIs, like I've scattered bets. I haven't done enough diligence to know whether it's alchemy. or AI16Z, but I just I almost took a fake ETF approach where I just put small bets, a few grand
Yeah,
on
just
like six or
scatter
seven.
buckshot.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
scattered a few grand and again, not for the purpose of making profit. I find that a great way to keep me engaged and for me to learn is to have a little skin in the game. If I didn't have a few $1,000 in each of those coins, I wouldn't check my hype app to see the movement. And when I see, one of them moves 60%, I go to Twitter and I start understanding why did it move 60%. And then I
Right.
read about their update. Like it's a way to
It's an
incentivize me to
indicator.
learn.
It's an
It
actual
is.
indicator that you can reference, from day to
Yeah.
day and be like, "Oh,
Yeah.
it's up, it's, up 10%."
My investment's an indicator that then translates into me doing the research to educate myself.
Yeah.
That's why I
Makes
do it.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Within all the stuff that you've been seeing though, obviously that's for you personally. You have a nice idea of what's going on. We also know that you engage with, 100 plus 200, I think you said, athletes at this point.
Yeah.
I'm sure they at some point are also looking at what's going on and going, well, look, this athlete launched this.
So
This
I have
like,
something. I have something on that front. Um, I I love my athletes, and a lot of them are really smart. I actually think when you think about like the entrepreneurial spirit, the investment spirit of our clients skew way heavier into that because they're
I
our
was gonna say,
clients.
you guys probably have the
Yes.
smartest, most business savvy athletes.
Yeah, I don't want to say smartest, but I think the most entrepreneurial,
Okay.
the ones that have that spirit, they gravitate towards us. It's a differentiator, right? That the two co-founders of the sports agency are entrepreneurs at heart. And so if
Yep.
you're an athlete, if you're an entrepreneur that so happens to be a world-class athlete, we're a great partner. And it's definitely why, like a guy like Sauce Gardner switches to VaynerSports. And because Sauce is one of the best elite players in the NFL, but he also understands what it is to build a brand and wants to grow his wealth and do it in an entrepreneurial way.
Yep.
Right. And so, but they're still in this container of being a professional athlete. And one of the things that I think is particularly difficult for a professional athlete is that they're giant targets for um, call it everything, good and bad. They're giant targets because they're very public. They play same thing with musicians, right?
Yep.
But even more so, I'm trying to think of other, publicly traded company CEOs and C-suite executives have this, but like not only are they famous, but everybody knows their pockets. Everybody knows what this player's getting paid this year to play the game, right? It's
Yep.
public. At least in football, baseball, basketball, in the UFC, it's actually not public, depending on what state they fight in, but nonetheless. And so when it comes to crypto, if you take like Bitcoin, for example, and you take the entire chart of it since the beginning, and you see every top peak in that cycle, the top is when I start hearing from my athletes.
Oh God.
And I think it's because that when we're getting towards the top of a cycle, I think they get people in and around them that like I feel like a lot of times athletes attract a get rich quick type audience, whether it's from friends from
Mm,
back home or
yeah.
entrepreneurs, like they're targets, right, for the sharks. And whether it was Bitcoin's first top, second top, NFT's top, like I start hearing from my athletes, and I made the joke, and I don't want anybody overreact because it's only been one. Now, when I say I'm hearing like from dozens, but I have this group chat with like my brother and some friends that have been like our NFT crew and are now our meme coin crew. And I go, guys, I have bad news. And everybody's like, what? What's going on? What's up? What's up? I go, I just got a phone call from one of my clients. And they're like, yeah. I'm like, he called me and he said he downloaded, there's an app called Hype. Have you heard of Hype?
I have heard of hype, yes.
So that's what I use to buy my, meme coins, AI coins. It's my Solana wallet, basically, on my phone. I love it, by the way. I have no involvement, but I'm a big fan of it. And what Hype does as a wallet is they do a good job with like the social aspect of it as well. And so one of my clients downloaded Hype, and it shows like, hey, AJV is on Hype, and so he follows me. And then he saw, and I happen to do decent. Again, all my bets are really small, but I did pretty well on buying.
Okay, yeah.
I would have, by the way, for the record, I would have done a lot better on Vine. I thought Vine was Russ getting hacked. I didn't buy the proof. Like his GIF and his video, I thought was AI. And by the way, I don't know, has it been, I think it's been confirmed that's him and he's still going. I feel like if he was hacked, we would have known by now.
Yep.
I lost out on so much upside because I over fucking thought it. I bought Vine at 8 million and I sold constantly. I was just hedging the bet. I was selling like 5 because I'm trying to be better. Old AJ would have done much better on Vine because old AJ would have just bought, held, and gotten to whatever we got to like 300 market cap. It would have been up 35x or whatever. But new AJ's trying to learn from old AJ's behavior, and I'm selling like 5%. We get to 12 million. I'm like, all right, I'm up 50%. I sold 5% of the stack. We got to 15, 5%. We got to 17, 5%. I just kept selling 5%. I still did good. But when he downloaded Hype and he saw the transaction log, and since he had no other friends on Hype, he just sees that I bought Vine at 8 and sold, and it shows the percentage profits. And like he's like, what you got to tell me about this stuff? And I'm like, bro, no. Like, this is not, first of all, I'm not a financial advisor. I could go to jail for giving you financial advice. Like, I'm union certified as an agent. But I made the joke to my group, like, I heard from my first athlete. Hopefully, we don't hear from more. Like, that's always been a top signal for me.
I think that is wrong true. The interesting thing though is this is going to be the first cycle where we have social buying. Like, yes, you could go on the blockchain and like see when people were buying before, but this is the first time you have like actual apps where consumers can just be like, oh, like what is my favorite person doing, or what is this cool guy doing?
Well, I mean,
And
you could do it on OpenSea. I think the prime OpenSea people like. I know people were watching wallets. If I bought something, there was a period of time it was weird. I didn't like it because I didn't want to get in trouble and I didn't want people to be mad at me. But like, I was watching wallets. I was seeing
yeah,
what you were buying. I was
yeah.
like, why did Hunter buy this? What the fuck's this? Oh, these wizards, the runes. Like, I'm in. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Oh yeah,
that's how.
yeah, like but I think, right, but that's insulated to an extent of
Yes, yes,
like
yes.
you really had to
You have to
be
be
in
an
the ecosystem.
insider. Yes, you
Yeah,
have to be an insider ecosystem. Yeah, you have to be cut from it. I agree with that.
yeah, but like now we have stuff like oh my god, I'm gonna completely name Vector's been a huge one as well, where like people are trading this stuff and
Yeah,
you could see what everybody's doing. And I don't know. I just think that's a bit of fuel on the fire for this accelerating. And you're probably gonna get, I would say, more big names who are like, okay, shit, I can just download this, and um, it's gonna be
I'm,
interesting when you get the first like NFL player gets on there and starts trading and starts winning a
gonna
bit.
happen soon, man. It's gonna happen soon. Here's why it's gonna happen soon. Their season's over for everybody before, right? Apologies for your season ending last week. My on
I
my
don't want to
fandom
talk
side
about
of
it.
things,
I don't
on my
want to talk
fandom,
about it.
on my side of fandom, everybody. I think it's well known. I grew up a Jet fan, so the Jet fan side of it, that's been one of the coolest parts too. Is like working with guys like Sauce Gardner, and then we also have Tyler Conklin. Yeah, VGF, exactly. People were all over the Gennady wallet. There's no question. I would watch in real time. Gary would buy something he likes, and he would find an artist he likes, and he wouldn't even have to tweet it. It would start
it,
running,
it
right? Like
would
people were
start
watching
running.
wallets, no question.
Exactly.
So anyway, but I think the season's over for all but 4 teams. So like I told you, one of my clients called me yesterday. One of my clients has the Hype app and has bought altcoins. So there is an NFL player. He's not a household name. It's not like when Von Miller bought a CryptoPunk or something like that. But
Right.
I guarantee right now, I know for a fact at least one NFL player, and I'm sure there's others, is currently buying Vine and 4chan and
They've got too much time on their
USD.
hands
And
right now, man. They've got a lot of time. They got a
yeah, they
lot of
got time
time.
right now. And in a world where they just came out of not having any time for the last
Yep.
6 months, they have a lot of time now.
With the NFL side of things and sports overall, the NIL side of has been huge for you, I would
Yeah,
assume, and it's completely
yeah,
changed things. I know that watching the college football championship, that was brought up multiple times about being an impact even on kind of the trajectory of both teams.
yeah.
How has that kind of changed how you're approaching VaynerSports right now?
It's
And I guess
completely changed
advising
it.
athletes.
It's completely changed it. I think I'm going to get on my soapbox because this is a controversial topic. And I've had this conversation with a lot of people, especially kind of what I was talking about before. The people that hate AI are the ones that don't want change, right?
Yep.
I think the people that hate the new landscape of college football are two groups of people. They're either traditionalists that miss kind of like the pure nature of college athletics, or they were negatively impacted by the change. And what I mean by that is, if you look, and I'm not singling out any program. I do business with all these programs, but I think parity is up in college football because
Yep.
the old way is if you were a 5-star and you want to go to the NFL, a really good blueprint was to go to one of the top 5 schools. Alabama was the best at this. You're a 5-star. They had numerous 5-stars that didn't even start playing until they were juniors. You're talking about 5-stars that practiced and didn't play on Sunday. Like you're talking about like the 18th best high school player in the country didn't see the field sometimes if they were like a D lineman, for example, at Bama until their junior year, right? Quinnen Williams is a good example. He's a Jet. He was I believe, the number 4 pick in the draft. I don't think Quinnen played until his 3rd year at Bama. And then he was one and
Oh
done. He
wow.
played, he dominated, and he went to the NFL and was a top 5 pick. Bama was doing that constantly, right? And so for Bama in a pre-NIL landscape, the reason why this was a huge advantage is when they faced injuries, they was like, man, okay, 5-star kid, I was going to play you as a
Yep.
junior, but you can play as a sophomore now. Go ahead.
Exactly.
But now that same kid is not waiting their turn 2 extra years because they can be making so much money being a starter at another school. And so it's hurt the depth of the biggest programs. And I think, and again, Ohio State's been a top program and they got there. But like, I think if you look at the parity of the teams that were in the playoff and how it went down, there's still schools that crush with NIL and all that. But I think parity's way up. The competition's better. And then the other thing I'll say is that I think the quality of football is better now, both in college and the pros, because kids are staying longer. And by staying longer, the college game's better. So I think back like this last draft, you got 2 quarterbacks, Bo Nix and Michael Penix.
Yep.
Both those guys were able to afford to stay longer in school. And thus, Oregon and Washington were better football programs that year because they had an extra Bo Nix year, an extra Michael Penix year. And then those guys were able to move their draft stock up, go to the NFL, and you got to watch Bo be more effective in the NFL than I think the same type of player like Bo would have previously. And it just afforded, like, I had a conversation with a kid yesterday, and he's like, it's a kid that played in the playoffs and had to make a decision within the last week. And I was like, yeah, teams are telling me that you're probably like a 3rd or 4th round pick. Before NIL, that kid goes pro. Man, if I could be a 3rd or 4th round pick, I'm gonna take my $1 million signing bonus. I need this. Da-da. But now he's getting 7 figures to play another year of college football, and maybe he'll become a 1st or 2nd round pick next year.
That's crazy.
So the college game's improved, the pro game's improved. I think it's fairness to the players. The players have been getting fucked over for decades. So I think net it's better in every way. But the last thing I'll say is I do think it's still it's in its early form. I don't believe the current construct of college football and college sports is right. I think they just need to tweak some things and make it better. Just some more parameters and guidance. Similar to crypto, we're just asking for parameters and guidance.
Yep.
And I think they need to fix the calendar. College football in particular has it so broken. Imagine the Baltimore Ravens, your favorite team, right? Imagine the Ravens simultaneously working towards trying to win this Super Bowl, also had to pick their NFL draft picks and do free agency at the same time. That's what happened in college sports. You're signing high school kids. You're trying to win a national. Ohio State, to win the Natty, had to focus on game plans and winning the Natty. They had to sign their high school recruiting class, and they had to work in the transfer portal to keep their players and go get new players for next year, all at the same time. Whereas in the NFL, you're trying to win a Super Bowl in January and early February. You're doing free agency in March, and you're doing the draft in April.
Yep.
So that's a major problem in college football right now for all sides.
I didn't realize that. Yeah, because you basically have to have a whole nother team to handle that.
Yeah.
Your staff has to be massive just to handle that, and it's
Yeah.
got to be also horrible for the head coach because he
It's horrible for
at some
everybody.
point has no idea what's going on or what
Bad for
what
everybody.
things look
It's
like.
literally bad for everybody. It's bad for the kids. It's bad for the coaches. It's bad for the front office. It's bad for the agents. It's bad for everybody. The current calendar. It's broken.
I mean, if it's bad, I mean, I'm sure everybody wants it to be changed. Why isn't it being addressed?
One major reason, in my opinion, I'm not. This is not a fact. This is my belief.
Gotcha.
We can't forget that they're students. Like, it's the academic calendars. Like, these high school kids have to go enroll at college. If they're going to be an early enrollee, they have to enroll in January. If
This is
you're
true.
currently playing at Purdue and you want to go play at Oregon, like a kid just did, a good safety, you have to enroll in classes at Oregon. So it's the academic calendar that's the biggest problem
Interesting.
because they are student athletes.
This is
As
true.
much
I
as
mean, yeah.
much of a business as it is, they are actually student athletes. That's the biggest problem with the calendar.
With on the NIL side, what are you seeing as the the number the average direction most of these kids go for like driving that revenue for NIL? Is it on the endorsement side? Are they doing products? You see more CPGs? I'm curious how that's evolving.
Yeah, it's mostly endorsement. It's the lowest barrier to entry for both sides.
Yep.
It's either, I'll give you an example. We also at VaynerSports do some consulting where we will help brands activate in the sports arena, and NIL is one of the most common ones. And so we partnered with Epic Games, the makers of Fortnite,
Yep.
and they wanted to get this was we've worked with them for each of the last 2 years, but the better case study to talk about is last year when they launched a new mode called Zero Build, where Fortnite's main differentiator as like a battle royale game was the idea that you could build, walls and coverage and stairs and things like that.
Yep.
But what's tough for like casual gamers is that's like a high barrier to entry. Like Fortnite's kind of like golf, where it's like you have to be really good and you have to play a lot in order to be okay.
The barrier to entry of playing build Fortnite
Correct.
became
Correct.
astronomical.
Exactly. And so they launched a zero build mode, which I think was brilliant because like I play Fortnite now in a world where I wasn't because I got too far behind on the build.
Yep.
And so they wanted to get the word out on zero build, and they worked with us, and we identified 50 collegiate athletes, some clients, some not, most not clients. And we got the word out. And so, there was 50 different college athletes last year with, combined tens of millions of followers posting videos of them. They're not the best actors, but they tried their best. Hey, Fortnite just launched zero build. I'm playing with my homies. Like, this has been fun, like yada, yada, yada. And so that's the most common way collegiate athletes work on a national level is typically like a social media
Yep.
piece of content, video, picture, what have you. And then and that's on a national scale. And then the another very common, it's kind of like a barbell approach, is just the regional side where you'll get deals with local restaurants, local car dealerships where they're making appearances, they're signing autographs
We've
for the
seen some
fans.
crazy ones on the local side. I mean, we've
Oh yeah,
seen some, bizarre ones. There's, geez, it might have been a Notre Dame player that was doing like a jet company, like a private jet
yeah,
company, and
yeah. My
uh,
favorite one ever. We didn't do this. My favorite one ever was a local HVAC company that does heating and air conditioning. There was a kid. I think he went to Nebraska. His legal first name was DeColdest. I can't remember his last name, but his first name
okay.
was DeColdest. D A Coldest. And he did an endorsement deal promoting the local air conditioning company. It was the best.
I love that. I love that. Oh my god. Yeah, I I asked that though. I'm curious how, on the evolution of that. Like, of course, endorsements are the easiest thing. They're
Yeah,
very zero. Not a lot of lift. Um, I've asked that though. Is like we see like more and more. I think, kind of like real estate that can be
yeah.
less
I got
less.
I got a good one. I got a
What
good
is
one.
that?
I had a conversation with the CMO of an organization. I'll protect them in this. It's not fair to
Okay.
call out, but I had a 30-minute phone call yesterday with the CMO of a large corporation, and they're in the franchising space.
Okay.
And he was basically saying, how can we work together to identify key markets that we want to be better at, match make a collegiate athlete, whether it's football, basketball, baseball, whatever, as long as they're popular at their school, and this type of organization is on campus. How do we give the kid, instead of paying them 10 grand, 25 grand for a photo shoot, some autographs with fans, and social media posts, how about we give them a piece of the franchise, make them an owner, so they have skin in the game, and it creates like actual like an asset that 20 years from now, when they're
There.
done playing sports, they actually own a small piece of a name brand franchise location in their college town.
I mean, that's like very forward thinking. I remember back when the backpack kid was blowing up.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
remember Gary was talking to him. He's like, you should ask for equity. That's part,
yep,
like that's different. Think bigger.
yep.
For a friend, for this guy to think that way is
Yeah, that's
possibly,
a corporate CMO.
yeah.
Kudos to him.
That could, I mean, that could catch on. You could also start seeing all these athletes, then they start to think way more business minded than just like, hey, I want the
Exactly,
check. They're like, okay, who am I aligning with? What do I want to own a piece
exactly,
of?
exactly.
I think that's being able to say like I'm an owner of this has a
Yep,
way different ring to it than I'm I'm
yep,
on the
yep.
payroll.
Exactly. I think consumers can smell authenticity, right? And I think that a lot of the worst endorsements are when they make the post and they're promoting the coffee brand or whatever, and you can just feel how detached and how much they don't give a fuck about
Yeah.
that brand, and how clear it is that the only reason this post was made was because they got $5,000 to do it. Where on the flip side, when we're able to match make clients to brands that they actually like, you can feel it as a consumer, and then
Yeah.
endorsement goes further.
Yeah. 100%. Um, I want to switch over back to a little bit on the Web3 side. Just thinking about like long-term stuff. Uh, we've talked a ton about, like what you've been watching and the current meta, but I think since you've been around for so long, there are some long-term plays, and I think it would be uh oh, hold on, getting interrupted here.
No
Um
problem.
uh I'd be remiss not to bring up, like, I think what is considerably, like, on the collectible side, the most long-term project out there, which is CryptoPunks.
Right.
You're an owner, you've collected them. I'm curious where you see the current state of things with them, especially with the rumors of, if is Yuka selling them? Is
Yeah.
there an ETF being created? I'm curious where you see that currently.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a. I have a lot of. This is gonna sound a little abrasive, but I have a lot of empathy for operators. I think that a lot of. I understand that people are investing their capital in speculation on assets. When I decided to buy a CryptoPunk at first, like that was me making a bet that I'm going to spend X amount of money on this collectible, and I'm going to hope that the collectible goes up in value. And NFTs were really easy for me to understand because I was an avid trading card collector, both sports and Pokemon, like all in on sports cards and Pokemon cards. So, NFTs made sense to me. Um, so I think a lot of people have a lot of opinions on what Yuga should do with punks. And this is just one man's opinion. I kind of look at punks and where I have two punks left. I bought three in the very beginning, and I sold one maybe like a year ago. Just wanted some liquidity for a personal related item, but I don't have any plans on selling the other two anytime soon. Um, I kind of look at punks like they should be in a museum, in the sense that I look at the best thing to do with punks is nothing. And so that's in a lot of ways, I feel like you guys done the right thing. I think people want them to use it for short term personal gain for the collectors and the holders. But I kind of feel like anything punks does would dilute its lore, in my opinion. So I like the idea of it just fucking sitting personally. I don't need a coin. I know like anime coin came out. Like I don't need any coin. I don't need any manipulation of the speculation of, hey, we might drop a coin and thus, punks rip to 250 floor, and then the coin comes out and then they tank back down to 125. Like, I think I'm of the personal mindset, just let them sit and let them be a piece of history and art. That's my take.
I agree. I think many of the OG holders would also agree. Um, I I think it's one of those areas that we rarely see doing less is far
Yeah.
more, for sure.
Yeah.
Um, but I think it's also a great example of, like, there are different levels on the collectible side of, like, what is just art and what is,
Totally.
what is something that has to be, like, developed around and, like, have
Yeah.
like a team and a business plan and be pushing, like,
Totally.
Pudgy Penguins.
I think,
Pudgy Penguins is way
yeah,
different than what a
100%.
CryptoPunk
And
is.
100%. Be friends too, right? Like my brother and
Yeah.
his team have to do things. Within Yuga, like they got things I think they need to do. I don't know what those things are, but they raised a lot of capital at a very high valuation, and things need to happen with apes and things like that. But with punks, like you said, less is more. I think any NFT or any collectible, forget NFTs, physical collectible, anything that has like a complete stamp on history and the influence of history, I think has permission to be treated more like a piece of history. So,
Mhm.
for example, I think punks don't need to do anything. This is me pumping my bags. I think I have four of them. Chromie Squiggles, just in terms of generative art. and what Snowfro did. Like, I don't think anybody, and I think that was easier because that's art, and people are able to treat that like a painting, right? Whereas
Right.
PFPs, I think, have a different promise. Um, so that's another example of something that I think is just entrenched in the lore and the history. I'm sure there's others, but
Yeah. Do you think on the collectible side, do you think anybody is going to get sports right? Because I think we've had like
it's hard.
first burst of it, but like, do you think there's anybody that's doing it right now? Because I went to a Ravens game and they had like some I don't even know what it was, like QR code, and it was like a game day collectible thing, and I did it, and I was like, oh god, like
I do, I
top
do,
shot all over again.
yeah, I do like. I'm hopeful in the next 5, 10, 15 years. Like, I still believe in like that core foundation of where the blockchain can bring so much benefit as like a hybrid of provenance and collectability. So like, I wish, I wish I had a digital good that represented every single sporting event I've ever attended.
Right. Oh
I wish I had that. Hunter, I lost your camera. I don't know if that's my Wi-Fi or if it's you.
no, that's me. Everything's going wrong here because I got a phone call.
There
I'm probably gonna be here. There we go. We're
we
good.
go. So like, I wish I had that. I wish, people collect tickets, and you can go on eBay right now and buy tickets for sporting events like Michael Jordan's first game or LeBron's first time scoring 50, things like that, right? And I
Yeah.
wish I had that. So like, I do think, and I think it'd be really cool if there was like a highlight, like a key play from that sporting event, so that when I think back, like, oh man, I did go to that Jets Bengals playoff game on the road in 2009 or 10, things like that. Um, and then also just even beyond sports, like things like, I think the ability, people lie about their like colleges and where they went and things like that on their resumes. It's like, we have the blockchain. I don't know where my diploma from Boston University is. I genuinely don't know where that piece of paper is. But I think, having something that is a back end to validate college degrees from educational institutions and corporations is a great example of the blockchain,
Yeah.
and should exist. So back to your sports question, it's hard to crack the nut in sports. Obviously, we've tried and continue to try with VaynerSports Pass. I think something that I'd like to highlight is that 99% of projects from that Web3 NFT boom have died and done nothing. VaynerSports Pass is active. We
You
continue
guys
to
are
do
active.
things. We're active. We're not loud, but for our core community, we've continued. Like, we're pushing tech changes. We're making adjustments. We're fulfilling every single thing. Like when we launched and we had our roadmap. Remember when roadmaps were a big deal? Um, I remember we went like anti roadmap because it was like, who gives a fuck if I make a pretty picture that says I'm going to build a metaverse?
Right.
Nobody that put out those pretty pictures with roadmaps actually did it.
Yep.
Um,
Exactly.
anyway, but we're still active. So I mean, I think the future, in order for sports to work, we just need more of our society to adapt to. Like, we're just, if you look at the composition of who's active in whether it was NFTs or meme coins now, it's not necessarily a sports fan composition as a whole. Whereas
Mm,
our society more reflects sports fandom as a whole than the crypto ecosystem. And I think that's the
yeah.
biggest pain and
Yeah.
hurdle.
I mean, like we've seen that kind of funnel in through Polymarket even, like they added sports
Yeah.
betting and that was
Yeah.
a massive, massive moment
Yes.
for them where all of a sudden, okay, oh, there's relevancy for mass public to hop over and check it out.
Yeah, it's
And
not just the election anymore.
yeah.
There's
And then it
other things too.
became more of like, okay, now I have like an actual on the chain verifiable way of saying I knew that,
Yep,
you know, I knew the Chiefs were gonna win the Super Bowl. Who do you think's gonna
that's
win the
right.
Super Bowl? So off topic. I'm all over the place
I
today
like it. I
with
like
this
it.
chat.
What do we got? We got Commanders, Eagles, and we've got Bills, Chiefs. Um, well, we have a bunch of Commanders clients. I'd like that to happen.
I'm gonna say the
Um,
client SKU is coming here.
oh, huge, huge for sure. Um, who do I think's going to win?
Oh, he's thinking hard on this one.
I think the Bills are going to win the Super Bowl.
Okay.
Growing
I
up a
can take
diehard
that.
Jet fan, it's hard for me to say that, but and we don't have any clients on the Bills, so I'm not rooting for them. But um, there's some
I
good people over there, and it's a good team.
I can that'll take the sting a little bit out of the
Right,
Ravens loss. I can,
right.
yeah.
You lost to the best. But
Yeah.
you can't count on any of them. I think the Commanders are the underdog of the four. I think the Eagles, Bills, and Chiefs had more Super Bowl expectations. The
Yeah.
Commanders have been the Cinderella story. They've obviously, massive shout out to the front office and the coaching staff over there, and no denying what the quarterback's doing and all that. We'll see.
We'll see. We'll see.
Who do you think's gonna win? Who do you think?
Uh, not to say the NFL is scripted, but it just feels like it's a Barkley year, and it feels like
Ooh,
it just feels like it. I hate it, but um, I don't know. And I never watched a Eagles game at an Eagles bar, and that changed my perspective on that franchise completely.
they
To
they have passionate fans.
very passionate fans, and I was just like, okay, you can't deny that there is a lot of intensity around the team, and when you watch them play, it's just um man, just give Barkley the ball and let him run. It's easy as that.
Yeah, it
Um,
can be.
Look, I appreciate the time. I think the best way to wrap up our convo here is, what's next for VaynerSports? What's next for VaynerSports Pass? What's next for you? And is there
Yeah,
anything that people should be doing to actively engage or, I guess, stay up to date?
yeah. Vayner Sports, we're just going to continue to build. We added basketball a few months ago, so that's a new foray for us. Like you said, the NIL college landscape is ever evolving. We're diving in deeper and deeper there. Um, as far as Vayner Sports Pass goes, continuing to execute. The strategy we really taken is I'm a believer that by staying active, I think the projects that were born during that first quote unquote bubble that persevere and survive into the next upswing will stand to benefit. So that's the approach we've taken. Kind of treading water, continue to do what we said we would kind of do. Watch what's changing. What are the advancements? I think something that I'm watching curiously is I'm excited to see how Abstract goes. And you got Pengu and Pudgy and Abstract, and I'll definitely be looking at what they're up to and see what they do. I think it's important to watch what some of the people that are setting trends are doing in the space and see and borrow the best of their experiences and learn from any mistakes that they might make in an evolving landscape. And then overall, I'm like I said before, I'm very excited about AI. I want to understand how to use it as a consumer. I want to understand how to use it personally. I want to understand how to use it professionally to operate our businesses, to create better experiences for our customers and consumers and clients. Yeah, and then as far as staying up to date with me, I'm not the most active, but I'm out there on Twitter. It's just AJV. I'm out there on Instagram. It's AJV. Those three letters, my initials. That's me. That's what I got going on.
Amazing. Well, AJ, again, thank you so much for your time hopping on. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
I'm
man.
sure the
Fun
viewers
chat.
appreciate it.
I
We'll stay
appreciate.
in touch, but
No doubt.
again, thanks, man, and thank you everybody for tuning in today, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate everybody. Have a good day.